Hi everyone, and welcome to the Taurus Sun, Moon, and Rising Spiritual Connection reading. This is I Am Illuminated Tarot and Meaning-Based Spiritual Coaching Service. I am Lauren, and all of my content on YouTube and what you find on my website as well is meant to focus on teaching and demonstrating how the Triad of Engagement, which utilizes the principles of curiosity, courage, and contemplation, that when applied together can keep you fully engaged and feeling in flow with the unique energetic imprint of your life. Additionally, all content is here to help you answer your very own I am question, so that you can re-engage with life in a more authentic, meaningful, and emotionally fulfilling way. If you're interested in learning more about the Triad of Engagement and how it can liberate you from the feelings of fear, frustration, anxiety, and detachment, and how they can connect you with the feelings of purpose and meaning and opportunity and emotional fulfillment, you can click on the link below in the description box. There are actually two videos, one that is more of a visual first look, which I like because I'm a visual learner, and one that is me just chatting about it. So they're both great videos, and they both share a little different look at the Triad of Engagement. All right, guys, let's get right into your reading. So what this reading is meant to do for you is to show for this week where you are meant, or basically being called by your external environment, destiny, spirit, the divine, to engage your unique, internal, authentic spiritual self so that you can unlock something about who you are uniquely that is needed in the external world. So I'm going to start here with pulling a card, or two or three, whatever comes out, to come take a look, Taurus, at what energy you're sitting with right now. Now we have the Four of Coins and the Ace of Swords. So there's something about holding back in sharing your truth. And that's what you're sitting with right now. You're sitting with the knowledge of this is my truth, and you're holding Four of Coins, Four of Pentacles actually, is really about kind of sitting, pausing, and as you can see in this image, kind of holding on and not wanting to let go of something in your physical environment to act on sharing your truth. Now I'm going to pull a card for your external environment, and what your external environment is calling you to come and engage with it. So we have the Hermit and the Hanged Man. Two very beautiful cards of perspective. One of introspection, of understanding. This actually goes perfectly with Ace of Swords. So Ace of Swords is your truth. I like to call it your sort of Excalibur. Everybody has their own unique singular truth, of which they are meant to take into the external world and utilize that to really help cut through negative thought patterns, fear, doubt. This is when we don't want to listen to our own internal self, and we sometimes will allow others to influence us. So we're each born with our own unique sword to be triumphant in cutting through all of those negative aspects I just mentioned. Now the Hermit is beautiful in that it helps to illuminate not only the Ace of Swords, but also your own personal philosophy. What lights you up? That's really what this is all about. It's about going within and finding your own internal light, reconnecting with the internal flame of passion, so that then you can continue to bring that out and use that as the lantern or the flashlight or the spotlight to be able to see your personal path forward, but from an inside out perspective. And then the Hanged Man is another card of perspective. But what's interesting about this card is that instead of going inside, it's asking you to see your external world in a new light. So these are both cards about seeing things and seeing things in a new light and working with light. But one is working with your internal light, and one is bringing that light out into your external environment to see everything in a different perspective, in a more illuminated perspective. So, what I'm feeling here for you guys, for Taurus, is you are being called to share your truth. You're being called to engage your personal truth with your external environment so that you can share your light with others, your internal light, and be able to start to see the opportunities that exist for you in your external environment. So we're turning, oftentimes what we tend to do with our external environment is we close ourselves off from the opportunities because we're so set in our ways. We're so set in holding on to what is. And when we hold on to what is, especially when it's dealing with pentacles, which is our tangible physical reality, we end up not being able to be open to the possibilities or the change in perspective needed to see what's coming in and where we can share our truth or be of use in a specific external situation. Now I'm going to pull some cards here for what I call the void. Now this void is something that we create that is filled with fear, anxiety, self-doubt, disconnection, and frustration. And this void is what we build as we move from being a child into adulthood. This is what happened. The void grows as we attempt to bring our internal unique self into connection with our external environment, and we get a less than positive response. So this can be a point where we fail at doing something, or we are told that what we were hoping was going to be received well is maybe not quite good enough, or again, we just receive a response that we weren't quite expecting. It might not even be negative, it's just our perception of it that is negative. And so what happens is that we build this void between ourselves and our external environment that ends up being filled with all of these negative elements, where we're afraid now to bring that part of ourselves back out, where we have anxiety over bringing that part of ourselves out, where we are frustrated because we can't, or we believe we can't bring a certain part of ourselves out. And this void gets bigger and bigger and bigger. And it ends up becoming an actual external mask to allowing the external environment, especially others in our external environment, to really see and interact with our unique, internal, authentic selves. It also becomes a sticking point of disconnection between yourself and your external environment. And so this is where really, if we let that void get too big and we are not making the attempt to be aware and crossing over it, that we become emotionally disconnected from our engagement with the external environment, from learning through direct experience. Okay, so I'm pulling cards that are going to kind of show me the story of what you're afraid to cross in this void. The void that you're being asked to cross by spirit. So on either side here, this is really looking at your free will, which is your personal seat of power, because in reality, the only thing that we can control is ourselves. And what can we control about ourselves? We can control our ability to grow. to learn, and we can control our ability to make decisions that are based off of our authentic selves, within our best interest. Now, what's in the external environment? This is where we can't control things. Our external environment is destiny. It is the unexpected. Okay, here, guys. So just spread these out. And so really what we're looking at is the dynamic tension that exists at all times between our external environment and our internal environment, which is destiny versus free will. And what's beautiful about dynamic tension, and when we're aware of it, is that it helps to unlock the best parts of ourselves. It helps to unlock our true potential and allows us to continue to grow into the highest version of ourselves, and also to be able to bring that highest version of ourselves out into the external world to be of service to the greater collective human experience. So as I'm looking right now at the story in the middle here, it looks like there is an element of you're being called up right now to take a look at fears around balance in your life. So we have a card of justice. Justice is the major arcana card that shows ultimate balance. The what I would say is when you look at life, there's a balance to everything. There's a ultimate justice that even though we may not see in our lifetime or be able to understand how something is balanced out or the justice that ensues, because there is an element to justice that justice is blind, right? And that even though we might see something as unjust that needs to be corrected by something else that will balance it out, in reality, that force always exists. But it's our perspective sometimes that allows us to not be able to see it, to think something's unjust when in reality it is just. And so I'm seeing here that there's something around a balancing out of some aspect of your life. And it's something, I'm thinking that this is kind of pertaining to either home or work specifically, because we have the Justice card, Three of Pentacles, and the Wheel of Fortune. And the Three of Pentacles is about building. This is about together we build something stronger. You can see that there are multiple people here working on building. And this is our, a lot of times this will show up a lot in this fear void, because perhaps in the past we had tried to do some, this is actually our first interaction with group work when you think about it. So think about a time in your life when you were tasked to join a group and you realized that not everybody pulls their fair share, their weight. And that's a frustrating experience. And this is kind of where I'm feeling that there's an element of fear and anxiety around who's pulling the fair share weight, either in a house environment or in a work environment. And the Wheel of Fortune is showing me that you're being asked right now to move. The energy is asking you to bring your truth out now. And yet something about your take on the work that you do and sharing that workload with another is being called into question, and you're not willing, the Seven of Swords, you're turning your back on not wanting to see what needs to be adjusted. Because then we have also the Princess of Pentacles, which in the traditional tarot deck is the Page of Pentacles. And the Page of Pentacles is about going out in search of new information. It's kind of there's an element of almost like a childlike quality of taking something tangible, either a piece of information or like knowledge or something in the tangible world, a part of yourself, a gift you were given, maybe a new job, and going out into the external environment and playing with it. Seeing what you can do with this little bit. While also kind of fact-finding. You're fact-finding through direct experience. And so what I'm feeling here in the void is that there's something that's preventing you right now from feeling like you have the freedom to go out and perhaps take a class towards something you really like, or start that YouTube channel, or make a business or family move where you might be able to go out and start to play with another aspect of yourself, to start to bring out your personal truth and work with that in the external environment. But there is something here about you're being asked right now to face a fear of equal give and take. And this might mean that with the Seven of Swords showing up, you might be the one that needs to really take a look at where you've been running from building something together with somebody else, or being willing to join kind of more of a group environment, or perhaps where you've been, because I do see this card here, where you might not be pulling your own weight. You know, again, when I was saying justice is based on perspective, you might have the perspective, and this could have been from a past experience. You know, you might have been at work the one that did pull all the weight, and you thought you were working as a team, and it turned out that what came of it was not what you were expecting. That you put in a lot of blood, sweat, and tears and got nothing in return. And so now there's this fear of, well, I'll just do it on my own. I'll just do it on my own because no one can do it as good as I can. Which is definitely not true, especially when we're looking at how each one of us is meant to play a unique role in the universe, or especially in our collective universe, our collective human universe right here. And in knowing that, we have to work with others. And we have to be willing to see what we bring to the table, because at a certain point, things can turn to where we have so pulled back from looking or wanting, you know, seeing that others can help in certain areas, that we end up turning what we feel is us bringing more than expected to the table, or more than what others bring, to the reverse, to where we're actually bringing less, because what we're bringing is of less value. So the other people that you're now engaging with might see that actually, because you're unwilling to look for other areas of help, or you're not willing to work with the other person who's offering you the ability to perhaps change something, that now you are the one that's being seen as the block in creating a successful, you know, cooperative work environment. And it seems here like you are trying to turn your back on what destiny is trying to bring in. So, in keeping that in mind, and keeping it in mind that we all at some point have to let something go. We all at some point have to be dependent on somebody else, because that's how there's a give and take of energy at any given point. That is the Justice card. That is like the underlying main meaning of the Justice card, is that there's this give and take. At some points you'll be receiving and some points you're giving, but there always has to be that ebb and flow. It can't be all one or all another. So now I'm going to pull cards for the Triad of Engagement. And the Triad of Engagement is really going to demonstrate, it's going to give us a kind of plan of action to cross this void here. So the first card I'm going to pull is one for curiosity, then we'll do one for courage, and one for contemplation. So for curiosity, this is where we're going to build the bridge from our internal self to our external environment to cross this void. And how do we do that? Well, right now we're blocked. We're blocked from engaging with our external environment fully because we are closed. We are pessimistic. We don't want to work with others. We don't want to put ourselves and engage ourselves in an environment that could possibly force us to have to interact or be dependent on others, or change something in our tangible environment, force us to have to let go of control to share our personal truth, to be able to see the possibilities and perspective. So how are we going to build this bridge? Well, we're going to build this bridge based on receptivity and optimism and openness, and say, you know what, we're going to be curious. If the universe wants me to share my truth, and I know it's going to require some part of me having to relinquish some type of control, well, what is that possibility what are the possibilities I'm going to get to find in doing so? If I give a little, what am I going to get in return? And it's the optimism is where we start to change our perspective. And we have the sun, a card of true illumination. Beautiful, Taurus. Okay. Then I'm going to pull a card of surrender for our courage center. And courage now, so once we've built that bridge of curiosity, opened ourselves up to the external environment, courage is where we get to tap back into our own personal power and take action to actually walk across that bridge and to engage openly and with optimism and with eyes open for all those possibilities with our external world. So, what do we need to surrender? To be able to tap into courageous faith, to cross that bridge, knowing that what we will engage with is meant to unlock the highest and best potential within us. Come on, Taurus. Oh, there we go. Surrender to the beauty of the natural world. Lovely. And then the last card here will be for contemplation. Now, contemplation is your ticket back across the void. So once we've gone from our internal world and through curiosity bridged ourselves into the external, utilized courage to get ourselves to actually walk across that bridge and engage, now we're going to utilize contemplation to bring us back across that bridge, to be able to then take stock of what happened. This is our point of reflection, integration, self-education. We get to say, okay, I was curious. I opened myself up to what's out there. I took courageous action to walk across that bridge. And then now I'm going to contemplate on what happened. What part of myself did I have to release control over? And how did sharing my truth in doing so, what did I receive by going out here, by facing these fears? And then we start the process again. But for this reading specifically, so we have curiosity, we have the sun. The sun is a beautiful card. It really does signify illumination. So when we're thinking about the principle of curiosity in relation to optimism and receptivity and openness, this is about being able to see the light and to really be curious about what we're not seeing about ourselves, and how in bringing that out into our external environment will it be reflected back to us. Oftentimes it's very difficult for us to understand ourselves. We have to see that reflected in others. We have to be able to see ourselves in interaction, in connection with others, and in connection with our external environment to really understand who we are and to be reminded of what our truth is, but also to understand perhaps where we've been trying to control something that in reality we are being asked to release. That maybe we're trying to control something that doesn't need to be controlled. And that's really what I'm getting here, that there's something about trying to build something on your own when you're in a partnership with somebody else, whether it's you're in a work environment and you're trying to do it all yourself, or whether you're in a home environment and you're trying to do it all yourself. Either way, there's something here where justice is being called in to say, no, something is out of balance. You can't turn your back on it anymore because the wheel of fortune is turning. The time is now. If you want to be able to go out and start to work with your truth, you're going to have to release this control, whether it's control over money, whether it's control over time, whether it's control over even being able to, be of service to somebody else. And now it's time to bridge that fear with being curious as to what's going to be illuminated for you. What are you missing? And what possibilities are waiting for you right now that you're holding yourself back from? In your seat of courage, it says, surrender to the beauty of the natural world. It says, take a relaxing break and spend time in nature. Replenish yourself by feeling the beauty and the ecstasy there. And Taurus, I think this plays perfectly just into the energy of your sign in general. You are a sign associated with springtime. And you are an earth sign, so the natural world is, your element. And you're also a sign that's associated with the planet Venus, which is all about beauty and abundance and being receptive. And I think that this is where the courage is coming from here, is that there's a receptivity to the natural world. And that receptivity is what allows then for additional growth to take place. And this is really where you should be acting from, is from a seat of receptivity instead of a seat of trying to control. Now, in knowing that this is the only aspect of our experience that we can control, because we can't control our external environment. We can't control change. We can't control another person. But we can't control ourselves. But sometimes we over-control ourselves. We sit here and we make the attempt to get down to every little decision we make has to be so highly controlled, instead of kind of like the beauty of the natural world, which when you go out into nature, it's not perfectly pruned. It's not, there are areas that are going to be very overgrown and some areas that are completely open, but they're balanced out by each other. So there's this balance within the natural world, again, talking about balance, that we can feel but sometimes can't see. And really what I feel like for the seat of courage here is about you tapping into that place of receptivity. I'm open to seeing the possibilities. I'm open to seeing myself in a new light. I'm open to seeing my entire situation in a new light. And I'm ready to see where the imbalance is. I'm ready to see what I haven't been able to see previously. And I'm going to walk across my bridge on faith that, just like in nature, what's on the other side is going to be perfectly created for me. Because everything in nature is perfect. There's an element of everything in its place and a place for everything. And sometimes we forget that extends to our human experience as well. We like to remove ourselves from nature and feel that somehow we are not part of it, and yet we are. So we have to be in balance just as much as the external natural world has to be in balance as well. And then we have, for our seat of contemplation, we have the ever unfolding rose. And it says, cracked open, it's happening for you, not to you. And I think that this is beautiful to tie back into that element of control and having to release that fear of working with others to build something possibly new, something that you maybe are being asked to build right now. You're asked to go out with one pentacle and to see who wants to come together with theirs to start building something new. But oftentimes what happens is we get into this, as we face the void of fear and anxiety and negative thought patterns and frustration, when we're pushed to share ourselves, when we're pushed to change, when we're pushed to have to realize that perhaps it's us, not them, we start to feel that, well, why is this happening to me? Why are all these things, why doesn't anything seem to be going right? And in reality, what this card is telling you is that it's not happening to you, it's happening for you. That destiny is trying to get you to move and to be open and to shake off, stand up, get out of your seat, and be open for more pentacles to come your way. Stop clinging to what you feel you can control and be open to more. Be open to what the universe is trying to bring in for you. And so as we cross the bridge back from interacting and engaging with our external environment, and we come back to our internal environment, it's time to change that perspective. It's time to reflect on where perhaps you've been feeling like a victim. You know, why is this happening to me? This always happens to me. If I do this, see, this is how this person is going to react. And instead, change your perspective to looking at the same experience, but from the different perspective, from it's happening for you. And to say, what's unique about right now? What is this trying to show me? What is this trying to get me to release? And that, yes, maybe last time it did end up with a negative response or a negative outcome. But how can I change that now? How can I be a part of building something better? Of where do I need to interact now in a different way? Where can I change my perspective to allow others to come in with me? Now I'm going to pull an extra few clarifying cards for the energy that you're working with. We have Four of Wands in reverse. And we have the Chariot and the Hermit again on this side. Okay, we'll go into that in just a second. And then we have over here for the other side, clarification for the Hermit and the Hanged Man. Get additional clarification as to what you're going to learn about yourself out in the external world here. Get the Hanged Man again and the Eight of Swords. So this is beautiful. This is about liberation from what you've thought up until this point was something that's held you kind of hostage. What you're going to see in a different perspective, something that you felt has literally held you back from expressing your truth. And that's what you're being asked. That's really why you're being asked right now to cross this void, to face this fear, and to express your truth, relinquish some element of control, because what you're going to see is that what you felt was holding you back was just an illusion. Swords, this is the Eight of Swords. Swords are thoughts. And the Eight of Swords specifically is being trapped by your thoughts. And I always see swords as a progression. So each element in the tarot, whether it's swords, pentacles, wands, or cups, are in 10 card cycles. Now, I look at specifically the progression of the swords as you start with your truth. And then every sword from that point that comes into your mind is a card of illusion or a card of external influence. And in reality, you always have your Ace of Swords. And so in thinking about that and applying that to the Eight of Swords, you basically have the Seven of Swords, which is not wanting to see something, trying to get away with something, trying to get away with what you can, or thinking somebody else is going to be doing that to you. But it's basically the Seven of Swords plus the Eight of Swords. So this is the illusion that I'm held back. I can't. The illusion that somehow you don't know what's your truth and that you can't share it. That somehow you can't just whip your sword of truth out and fight off successfully, because this is what you were given at birth. This is what's supposed to be, this is your Excalibur. This is what's going to cut the way through everything. And so what this is showing me is that by interacting in an open way with your external environment and being ready to see yourself in a new light, warts and all, that you're going to see where you've been holding yourself back, that it's been an illusion this whole time. That there's probably somebody else out there who wants to carry the weight or find a different way to carry the weight and disperse the burden that you feel you're carrying all on your own. And you're holding yourself back from building something strong and beautiful that the Wheel of Fortune is telling you it's time to do. You're holding yourself back because you're tied to this element of control, of outcome. This control is not control towards yourself. This is control towards releasing yourself into the external environment and trying to control what you can, which again is also an illusion. Because here, what you're sitting with is what you'll learn from interacting is not only what's been an illusion, and to have the beauty to see it in a different light, to realize you've had the truth all along and there's other people here who want to help balance out the workload. But that also, when you come back to yourself, you're going to realize that you haven't been allowing yourself. There's something, now, I'm just going to put this out here because I'm seeing it directly in the cards. There is something about the Four of Wands in reverse can be about a marriage or a long-term relationship that is not going well. Combined with the Chariot, there's something here about moving forward, but moving forward from this relationship. And so I really think here, I'm going to kind of just dive into what I'm seeing intuitively, and then I'll go into a broader context. What I am feeling here is that a lot of you guys are dealing with either looking at a past romantic relationship or a current romantic relationship where you felt like you were pulling all the weight. You felt like you were driving the chariot towards an end result with this person and it didn't work out. But what you're being called to realize is that that illuminated something within yourself. And you're being asked to go back out into the world in this very open way now to work with somebody else, and probably in a romantic way. I'm really going to just put it there. I know this isn't going to apply for everybody, but this really came through in the end here. That there's something about you feel you're being held back in a relationship from building it to what, from being able to build it into what you want to build it into. But the fear is that you're going to get stuck pulling all the weight again, or that you are currently pulling all the weight, and that somebody else is getting away with not pulling their weight. But in reality, the reverse perspective of this is that you are the one who's actually trying to avoid change and not willing to pull the weight that's being asked of you now. All right, I'm going to leave it there. Taurus, that kind of came to a very specific end, but I really do feel that, I mean, again, this could apply to a work situation. Sometimes work and romance, work, you can almost have like a, romantic relationship with work, depending on if you're a workaholic or not, or if you have your own business. But there is a component here that I really feel like this is falling back on intimate relationships. And so if this is reviewing a past relationship and you're not in a current relationship, then really what you're being asked to do is to put yourself out there now with your truth and to be open to building again with somebody else. That what happened to you in this failed relationship, it did not happen to you, it happened for you. It was meant to unlock your truth. And now you're being asked to engage with it openly. Don't try to control it. Maybe now you see your truth and you're like, oh, okay, I see it, but I'm not going to be hurt like that again. I'm not going to go and try to build something with somebody else again. I'm going to do it all on my own. And what you're being asked to do is to say, nope. Each experience is different. And we can't have a different relationship. We can't expect to have a different significant relationship with a significant other if we continue to be the same. Or if we're not willing to release our need for control and we don't actually share who we are with that person. And we're not willing to invest in the dream together. And what's beautiful is that this is also not only going to, if you can do so freely, and be ready for the illumination that's going to come, that you're going to see that it's where you felt trapped has been an illusion this whole time. And that it's always been that you hold the light of truth within you. And you get to shine where that leads for you. You get to shine and illuminate for yourself the path that is your path. But it doesn't mean that you can't share it with another. And the understanding is that they too have their own path. But that you can come together and build stronger together. All right, Taurus, I will see you for next week's reading. If you'd like to book a personal reading, you can click on the link to my website in the description box below. Have a wonderful, wonderful week. Bye.